Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, April 14th, 2022. At this time, I will ask Annette to do a roll call.
Mayor Bobst?
Here.
Mayor Brennan?
Here.
Councilperson Conwell? Director Deber?
Here.
Mayor DeSicco? Mayor Gallagher?
Here.
Mayor Orcutt?
Here.
Mayor Posick?
Here.
Mayor Sellers? Councilperson Simon? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have one more.
Councilwoman Conwell's on her way down.
We've got 6, don't we?
1, 2, 3, 4,
She said Gallagher.
5. Bobst?
And
Brennan.
Director Long also has joined us.
Well,
too.
she's
She's
not
not-
confirmed as the alternate.
She's an
yet.
alternate and isn't.
Thank you, though.
Thank you, though.
I'm just listening. I'm trying to
We're
do
sorry. We're getting there. That was Andrea from Clerk. Councilwoman Conwell's on her way up, so.
Okay, so we need a few minutes.
Just a few minutes, I'm sorry.
We had 6.
We do have 6. 1, 2,
Let's hear it.
3,
Wait.
4, 5, 6. We have 6.
Who did I miss?
Oh, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Ever.
I said yes.
Really, I said yes.
And, okay, now we have 6.
I know. I'm trying to change
Okay.
something.
We all right? I think so. Okay. All right, so welcome everyone. We do have a quorum, so we can get started. There are a few people that are a little tardy, but they will be here shortly, but I think we can get the meeting underway. So I appreciate you coming in. The second item on our agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment today, Annette?
No, I have no public comments.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate that. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the February 10th, 2020 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve, that's the minute.
Motion by Mayor Bobst and seconded by Mayor Brennan. Any questions or comments on any of the minutes? Seeing none. On that motion, all to approve, say aye. Aye. Those against, that motion carries. Next is the welcome of new board members, and I'd like to welcome first Mayor Gallagher. It's very nice for you to join us. I'm so fortunate I've known Mayor Gallagher for a number of years now, and it's always a pleasure to work with her, and it's great to see that she's joined our group here. Also, Mayor Orcutt, I'd like to welcome you also.
Thank you.
And if either one of you would like to make a comment or anything, feel free.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you
Yeah,
for.
thank you. Looking forward to working with everybody. This will be a fantastic adventure for me. Get me out of my own city too. I can breathe a little bit.
Yeah, so at Tuesday's council meeting, Mayor Orcutt's appointment and Mayor Bibb's appointment were confirmed, so we're waiting on signed resolutions for that. Director Wong is with us. She is being named as Mayor Bibb's alternate. That's got to go also through county council and committee through that process. So we thank you for being here, and we've had conversations, so she knows she can't vote today, but thank you for being here.
Of course, happy to be here. And I'll share that I live in the Cleveland Heights community, so good to see you, Mayor Brennan. I'm just happy to be here and happy to be representing City of Cleveland and looking forward to working on our region together. So.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Like to reflect that Councilwoman Conwell has joined us also. Okay. All right, I think we'll just roll right into the resolutions if it's all right. First resolution, if you could read it, Annette.
Requesting the approval to authorize entering into an agreement with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health for the 2022 Cuyahoga County Supermarket Assessment Update.
Dan will be presenting on this. Dan Meeting of our GIS department.
Hi, I manage our research and information services section. So we supply data to all of our projects, basically. This agreement follows up on several years of partnerships between ourselves and the Board of Health for several years under their Creating Healthy Communities program. They've asked for an update to the study we did last released in 2019, coincidental with the whole Dave's closure and the hoopla that has brought about. This effort will be a bit more targeted. That was really a larger agreement that we had at this time. Now we're just going to focus on updating the supermarket inventory and the affected areas of the county that would become food deserts or not, and help us characterize the populations, whether it's a targeted set of indicators like poverty, households without vehicles, and some of those really important factors. Estimated cost is $6,000. We'll be providing $1,000 of in-kind work towards that, with the Board of Health providing $5,000 from its Creating Healthy Communities grant. Covered. I thought I'd mention specifically with regard to the Dave's situation, the data that we already had sitting on the shelf. We were pretty quickly able to determine that with that closure, there were about 4,200 people within a half a mile of that store by walking distance. 25% are elderly, 50% in poverty. Over 3/4 of were minorities, and half of those households had no vehicle available. So very quickly able to pull out that kind of data, and also to assess the impact of, say, a new store coming in, what kinds of populations and characteristics of that affect. So again, we thought this might help impact both us and the Board of Health. Policy making at the county and municipal levels, and help to leverage or to support funding under various programs. The state has a Healthy Food for Ohio program targeted towards grocery store development, CDBG funds, and perhaps even ARPA funding. So that's kind of the intent behind all that. Any questions? Yeah.
Just a quick one, when will this work commence and what is the time frame for completion?
It will start after I get back from vacation next week. And some of it's already in the pipeline. Both the county and the city boards of health have sent us their inventory. We're going to have to comb through it and clean it up, but it's already well in the works. And we did get really good cooperation from your Department of Health this
Great.
time, and they're very enthusiastic. So, yeah. The contract end date actually goes through the end of the year, but I don't think it's going to take nearly that long. I would guess a few months. So,
Just timely information, that's good.
yeah.
I was just gonna to add, totally timely given the situation in North Collinwood. And as you may know, Mayor Bibb is really big into the 15-minute cities concept. So we are kind of doing this study, and we don't have any policies around that yet, but I think this will definitely help. And so I'm grateful for the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
I did see, actually, just coming from Midtown, where we work closely with Asiatown, I did see Asian grocery stores listed.
Mhm.
So I'm curious how kind of you're defining grocery stores, and like what's the size?
Yeah.
And what, if there are smaller ones in like sort of smaller enclaves,
Yeah.
would you define that as a grocery
Yeah.
store?
Not necessarily. So this is probably the fourth time we've done a study like this, and we really want to replicate how we did it last year. It was very much targeted towards supermarkets, so larger stores. And we do have some general criteria, 25,000 square feet or larger, but if it is a smaller store that carries a continuous supply of fresh meats, vegetables, and so on, then it would qualify. So, there are things like meat markets would not. And there was a thought to include fresh markets, summertime markets, but we thought no, because that's not a continuous supplier, so.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
I thought, Councilwoman Conwell, I thought it was based on healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables, or part of that grocery store provided those items.
Yes, yeah, but as well as the full array, fresh meats and so on.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you also mentioned 25 square foot, so what is it based on all of those different criteria, or just as long as they have?
It is, so it could be a small store that carries that full array. And I'm trying to think of some of those examples. I think
Yeah, like
those,
Park to Shop is on here, so it's probably large enough and does carry fresh meat and vegetables. But it's
So
not,
off the top of your head, you don't know if the Asian supermarket is considered in that?
I believe it does. I think it's on there.
two on there, I see the two.
There's Park to Shop and Tinknell Enterprises. I don't know if, I don't recall the name of that one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See Simon's
I think,
supermarket.
going along with this, I think what especially first-ring suburbs in Cleveland are facing right now is just the increasing amount of dollar stores. And
Mhm.
I think, you can't just, legally, you can't just say dollar stores, you can't come in here, but that percentage that they're providing of fresh food is so minimal that they are monopolizing a market and people are going there. I think that needs to be paired with, taking a look at that and legally to help us. I think we need a study to take a look at, those kind of markets and their impact on communities as a whole,
Mhm.
going on with this.
Yeah. Well, we'd be happy to.
I've brought this up with First Suburbs before, and but it goes beyond just my city. That's why I think it needs to be a regional look.
Yep. So we are including, our findings won't include those smaller stores, but both from Cleveland and county boards of health in their territories provided us with the same inventories of stores. So it's really includes everything from supermarkets to gas stations. For Cleveland, we were planning to geocode all those locations for them, and they were interested in doing some follow-up work on those smaller, various kinds of stores. In the past, it's been issues about fast food, which is actually a different inventory. But so yes, there could be as well as corner stores, which might be very small, but could use some fresh produce to help the neighborhood. So those kind of interventions. But so yes, it is a big, wide world of.
Councilwoman Connell?
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's all right, just.
remind me of protocol, right? Yes. So to Mayor Gallagher's point, with that monopoly of those smaller dollar stores that are providing those things, I don't know if you could look at, and I don't know if they accept SNAP benefits or not, but I know when you're talking about the state, they kind of limit in a geographical area, and they limit the SNAP usage in certain areas to, and I don't know if that goes to a point to assist with what you just said.
It could, and I do recall in our past efforts, we have located all the SNAP stores,
Okay.
SNAP eligible stores. So that data is available and can be looked at. Yeah. So there's, again, this whole realm of, it's a whole wide world, but we're trying to stay focused on, for this part. Yeah.
Yeah, Mayor Brennan, building again on Mayor Gallagher's point, are we looking at the issue of dollar stores in connection with this at all, with this study?
No.
Why not?
That's the short answer. Because we wanted to be targeted and consistent with the study we'd done previously, which was oriented towards supermarket development, and so if there are areas that are lacking supermarkets, are we able to document the impact of that lack of service, and how can we get additional supermarkets? So that was the original intent, again, coming from the Board of Health.
Certainly, but wouldn't it be helpful to know if supermarkets are being supplanted by dollar stores in certain areas, and to collect that data and see if there's some sort of relationship?
Yes, it would.
But also to Mayor Gallagher's point, maybe we should be looking at zoning or other issues, and maybe this is beyond the scope of this study now, but something with respect to requiring that certain stores have produce.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
And maybe Jim and I could put our heads together.
Well, a permitted use in the
Yeah.
zoning classification.
Yeah, some of it is.
Wow.
This is being recorded as opposed to videoed, if we could just make sure we state our name, maybe before we
Yeah.
speak up, okay, just so somebody comes back and listens to this conversation. So is there further discussion? Mayor Sellers.
Sorry, I'm late. I left my wallet in my car. This is Brad Sellers, Mayor of Warrensville Heights, and I just want to pick a tail back on what I heard walking in this room. So where I live, I think in your study, you have to account for dollar stores. Dollar stores have become the supermarket for some, right? And the problem is that there has to be a mirroring up between local municipal home rule and what is being proposed as far as, trying to supplant these supermarkets everywhere, right? Because here, supermarket is real simple. I got Heinz is a Warrensville company, right? And the rules of the game were simplistic. The rules of the game were basically, where's the market share, where's it going? And I'm not going to overlap if I've got this region covered by this store, I don't care what you do. You're not going to set another store. You're not going to go to Columbus, pull a store, and put it in this area. It's just not going to go, right? Where I'm at is, and many others like my community, those who are less affluent, troubled by travel restrictions or anything else, there's a dollar store that supplants and posts up in a new area. That becomes their Giant Eagle, becomes their Heinz, right? And it is one of convenience. It is one of a number of other beneficiary acts. The problem for us is that you can overpopulate an area because it's a fast rising business, right? So you can they'll go to places that can throw up 3 or 4 real quick, right? Because it's easier to do. They're vacant real estate opportunities they can run in there, and then there's no real guidance to that, right? So I just think it behooves, you're going to talk about real planning, right? There's a group of folks out here, communities, that need some real guidance here about, and I know the city of Cleveland's trying a number of things, right? But there has to be some understanding of what the end game is, right? What the end game is, right? And I would say for those who think that they're not going to be, the dollar store is not going to be a player out here is unrealistic, right? Because I've got folks in Warrensville that swear by them, right? Swear by them. Good people that swear by them, right? The problem is I got to go in there and regulate it, make sure it's clean, make sure that it's providing the stuff that needs to provide. I shouldn't have to do that all the time, but it's necessary because it can run amok, right? And I think if you're just looking at supermarkets per se, right? We'll call this a sub-supermarket, right? That has to have some guidance here, right? And I think we all have to work together in order for it to happen.
Megan Cheney?
Yes, thank you. I used to work with Dan on the Healthy Corner Store initiative, which was kind of a companion piece to the supermarket inventory. And one thing that was interesting that came out of data and research that we did, years ago was that people wanted to go to supermarkets, and they supplemented with convenience stores and dollar stores and corner stores when supermarkets left. And what was an interesting initiative that was a companion piece to the inventory was spearheaded by the County Board of Health, and it was called the Healthy Corner Store Initiative. And it was recognizing that these stores play an important part in the community. And one of the biggest challenges that these stores face in terms of providing healthy food was the overhead costs, that it didn't make sense to have a delivery every week of perishable items when there just wasn't a lot of turnover. So what they did was they would work with purchasing power of all the neighborhood corner stores or dollar stores. So the trucks, the delivery truck would make the rounds in the community, and it would keep that overhead cost low. And that was, to my knowledge, fairly successful in Tremont. But that might be something to look into going forward, is working with those dollar stores the same way that we were working with corner stores to supply that, the fresh produce through kind of a purchasing cooperative with other stores.
Interesting. Director Wong?
Yeah, that's helpful. I guess my question is, what's the research question for this particular study? Is it just to kind of understand what is? And then from there, is there an additional step after that of like, what are the recommendations or policy ideas? Because like we all know that margins are getting tighter and it's a really difficult, like industry to be in. So I'm just curious like where you hope the end game will be. So there was two questions, the research question and the end game.
Yeah. So it is what we would call an assessment. So it really is an inventory and laying the facts out there for policymakers, whether it's Board of Health, Department of Development, EDs in individual cities, to make decisions and to have facts to lay out there. So I think that answered your question.
Okay, so we would take the data then and we would then like be able to create our own.
Yeah. And previously, and with this study, we do have an online map that allows users to go in and maybe draw a circle and find out how many people live in this area and what their characteristics are while looking at the inventory. So,
Mayor Sellers?
Last thing, Mary, this is to Mary Sherby. What is the county's planning commission capabilities? Planning capabilities, helping facilitate a dive into the subject, because I know Warrensville's not the only one, right? It's not the only one, right? But there needs to be some guidance, some regulation of what's going on. I think my peers help, right, of understanding we have to create a new zoning plateau here and say, okay, small retail, we can create whatever you need, right? But it needs some guidance about if you're going to do a smaller facility, what the facility must have, right? That way, because what's happening is it's a booming business model, right? And they're just running to wherever they can get, because you got more than enough landlords that are willing to lease you an empty space, right? It's small enough that it can go in just about anywhere. And okay, have at it. Now, it's not the landlord problem, it becomes the mayor's problem, right? Right? The complaints from the people talking about, well, you know, got enough junk in the highway, you can't get to the highway, right? And then, oh, it's enough trash running around here because I just passed one coming here, it was like Litter City, right? So I'm saying, Mary, you know, because you study a lot of things for us, right? This is one of them. This is a real deal problem.
And sorry. Go ahead. No, I would say, I know the scope of this contract is pretty limited. I mean, it's very specific to what it is, but thinking of the work we're doing with single-family zoning on infill housing, that may be something too, because I think zoning probably has a lot to do with where they're located, how many can be located, and what the restrictions are. And so I think it may be a zoning issue for.
When you have Johnny go 2 miles away my folks are not getting on the bus to go to Giant Eagle. They're just not gonna do it because Family Dollar's sitting there on the corner. It's just easy for me to walk to the corner. Now, not knowing that food is expired on the shelf or anything else, I'm going to Family Dollar because it's right here. And they got a price point that I can deal with.
And unfortunately, some of those dollar stores are not dollar stores.
Right.
I mean, so Dollar Tree is the only one, so I mean, thinking it's a Family Dollar,
Right.
General Dollar. Yeah.
Right,
So, I mean, it's,
Yes.
it's something I think we can look into in the
And
future.
I've seen it, I've read the stuff the city of Cleveland is dealing with, and then I hear it out in the suburbs where we are, right? And then, they're not in the affluent suburbs.
Yeah, and we made a zoning, we changed our zoning, so.
That's Director Wong.
Councilwoman Simon?
I think somebody already answered this, thank you. Just that the scope of this is determined by the Board of Health. Right now, it's a limited contract for the inventory. And I think this is more a Board of Health issue as well, I think, to expand what their role's gonna be. I mean, we're talking about zoning on the one hand, but litter and regulations on the other. It's really, I think that's more in the realm of the Board of Health, maybe as a joint effort after this contract determines inventory.
Yes, I wasn't particularly talking about this contract. I'm like, I want something almost
What we
always
can
totally
do in
different.
the future.
There's an accessibility and transportation piece, there's a health education piece. About multidisciplinary attack of a problem.
Okay.
This is one. I would imagine that they can give, the Board of Health can send you, or the Cleveland Department of Health can send you all of the supermarkets, grocery stores, corner stores. They must have this information
Yeah.
about dollars.
And I think we already have it.
Okay, great.
So we have it.
So have the data on where they are and where they're located, but you
And
won't
we can-
necessarily be using it.
We can lay that out.
Yeah.
That would be pretty easy. I'm thinking through what's the definition of a dollar store other than its name. So,
Mary, let me go back and talk to First Suburbs, all right? And then we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm beyond this contract, I'm on something else.
Okay, understood.
Any other comments? Mayor Gallagher?
Katie Gallagher, sorry, I spoke without saying my name before. So I sort of started the ball rolling on this conversation, and I understand planning commissions gathers data and kind of sets the stage for further. I think what confused me was in the resolution for county planning commission where it says facilitating policy, system, and environmental changes to promote healthy eating and physical activity. So, the confusion is we gathered all the data, but what are those next steps? So I apologize I went there, but it is a conversation I have brought to First Suburbs, and I feel like it's a good parlay into looking at in the future.
Mayor Brennan?
Yeah, Mayor Brennan, and I don't think you need to apologize, Mayor Gallagher. I think this is an important issue, and it may be beyond the scope of this particular study. It may be that this study is looking at a particular subset to expand upon work that's already been done. I'm not trying to disrupt that, but at the same time, I want to be mindful that there is an issue that we should be looking at, and perhaps it is beyond the scope of this, but I don't want to paint every dollar store type store with the same broad brush, but we've had some problems with a couple of ours in our community, including with respect, not just with what it offers and doesn't offer, but actually having to shut one down for fire reasons and so on. So there are all kinds of issues that I think we're all seeing, and I think the fact that several of us have brought it up here today is indicative of something more that we ought to be doing, perhaps beyond this agenda item. So I'm not trying to disrupt, the presenter here or this particular study, but I think it is right that we should be looking at this issue. And I think there is a relationship where there may be certain stores that are discouraged or are harmed that would be more beneficial, would avoid some of the food deserts we're seeing if we didn't have this proliferation of shops that are selling energy drinks and chips and toothpaste. Not saying that I don't consume any of those things. I'm just saying that there are people who are unable to get fresh fruits and vegetables, and we ought to be mindful as a matter of social justice and environmental justice to make sure that we're doing these things.
Jim Sonhalter?
Hi, Jim Sonhalter, County Planning, thank you. Just wanted to bring up 2 points. It went beyond I'd say the last work that we did was 2018, which was the assessment and inventory. But at that time, we really were focusing not just on these criteria that were established by the Ohio Food Finance Agency, OFA. So they were the ones who gave us the criteria of, does the store have a minimum square footage, minimum number of cash registers, bakery, meat department, produce, et cetera. But we also looked at the accessibility and the demographics really down to the block group level. So our analysis was very granular, but when it came to accessibility, sure, we looked at the households without private transportation, but we also looked at major bus lines and did kind of a walk shed of 10 minutes, I believe, to really kind of get to the population that was really limited in what shopping opportunities they had before them, and also limited in how they could get there. So that's a big part of it, and it's with next steps. It's important to talk about the partnerships. In determining that accessibility, we had Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority at the table, and this was prior to the next gen bus lines being laid out. So of course, that's going to have a big impact on what this inventory looks like going forward. Next steps, it's really important to focus on partnerships. In 2018, not only did we have RTA and OFA, we had Cleveland Food Bank, we had Cuyahoga, Health Improvement Plan Cuyahoga, in addition to the Board of Health and a lot of other food access partners. So I think that's what it's going to look like, beyond this study. There's obviously just a lot of work to do, and this is going to get us to a good point so we can move forward.
Thanks, Jim.
Sunny Simon, that's exactly what I was saying, that this goes beyond Planning Commission. Board of Health should be the central partner in trying to determine what's healthy for communities. So this is their contract, it's limited. I think we need the data, and then they should be incorporated into future discussions about expanding what it is the communities need, as discussed today. So I think the Board of Health needs to play a greater role in the health of our communities. So that's my point, and other partners. And Simon's Supermarket came out of the last study in Euclid. So there was implementation, and to your point, absolutely. Now, because that was deemed a food desert area on Euclid, and we have a supermarket there now. So there was action after that study was completed.
Okay, anything further from this? Mary, maybe you could touch base over at the Board of Health and
Yes.
seeing if there's a way we can collaborate with them. Thanks. Okay, so on this, I'm not sure if we read the motion or not.
I read
Sure, we have.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Pam, if I could just add one more thing. I would imagine many metropolitan areas are dealing with the same issue. We read about it often. I think it would be interesting after this phase is completed and this update is completed, maybe as a parallel process, to look at what they have done. I mean, this isn't unique to Cleveland. This is something that, as I said, major metropolitan areas are dealing with. And so perhaps there's a model that we could replicate or play off of that would be of assistance, and probably your planners here know those already. So I'll stop with that.
So on the motion, all those approved, say aye. Aye. Against?
We don't have a first and second.
Oh, I thought we
I'll
did.
make the motion.
Motion to approve
Yes.
by Mayor Boats, seconded by Mayor Brennan. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, that motion carries. Thank you. Can we go on to the next one?
Okay, that's resolution 220414B, requesting the approval of the updated and modified master subdivision plan and the Phase 3 preliminary plan for Pembroke Place subdivision located in Olmsted Township with 8 conditions.
Megan Cheney will be presenting on this.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to recognize Tom Simon with William Thomas Homes, the applicant for this subdivision. As Annette mentioned, this subdivision is located in Olmsted Township, and this keeps skipping ahead.
I know, it's very sensitive. I'm not touching.
There we go. It's located just south of the Turnpike and is bounded by Jennings Road and Shady Roads. It's there in the northwest corner. This resolution involves two separate plans. The Pembroke Place subdivision, the overall plan was originally approved in 2003. And the first phase was completely built out. The second phase was platted, and then less than half of it was built. In 2017, Tom Simon came back and with a proposal to replat the subdivision in phase 2 to accommodate single-family detached homes rather than single-family attached townhomes. That was approved. That was just a replat because all improvements had been put in. The land had already been subdivided. When he came back in fall of 2021, proposing to complete the development with what was previously phase 4 as the next phase of development, we asked him to resubmit an updated master subdivision plan showing that switch of phasing. You see phase 3 there on just bordered by Jennings Road, and the future phase 4 is there in the gray box. The second part of this resolution involves a preliminary plan for that phase 3. It's located on the eastern portion. It proposes 50 single-family detached townhomes on 9.1 acres of land. It also includes the creation of open space blocks H and the continuation of open space block G. It will include the extension of 1,300 lineal feet of roadway and 2,600 lineal feet of sidewalk. Also included in this area is, just as an overview, the entire subdivision will include 20% open space, which meets the 2020 regulations. And it has a density of 5.49 units per acre, which is quite a bit lower than the 7 units per acre that is permitted by the residential multifamily townhome density at the township level. We received the application, a complete preliminary plan application, and circulated it to our reviewing agencies. Their feedback back to us included the following conditions, 2 of which pertain to the revised master subdivision plan, and 8 of which pertain to the preliminary plan. So the 2 conditions involving the revised master subdivision plan include addressing the safety and regulatory concerns regarding the length of the cul-de-sac in phase 4, such that modifications may be on the table for different street layout and number of units. Also making sure that any safety and connectivity concerns are addressed with safety forces at the township level and with public works. These conditions are to be addressed at the next phase of development. We just wanted to make sure that these were included just in case there were any kind of concerns coming from the township safety forces. The 8 conditions for the preliminary plan include some modifications to the preliminary plan that were noted by the surveying department, which are minor in nature. They also include storm and sanitary plan revisions, including upsizing storm sewers in identified areas, and that sanitary sewers for sublots 214 through 228 are moved to the right-of-way, and where possible, storm sewers should be moved to the right-of-way. Street tree considerations. The layout of the subdivision has fairly small tree lawns, such that in previous phases, street trees couldn't be accommodated. It's something we would like to consider at the improvement plan stage. Where possible, we would like to work with the developer to make sure that trees are an essential part of the subdivision, perhaps located in the front lawn. Also included are soil and sediment controls. There are a few missing portions with the stormwater pollution prevention plan that are required by the OEPA that will be included at the improvement plan stage. There were a few safety measures just to make sure that all T's are crossed and I's are dotted. In terms of the dead-end streets on some of the subdivision the short streets at the northern part of the subdivision, and ensure that fire hydrants are located every 300 feet, and that 5-inch source connections are installed. So all reviewing agencies recommended conditional approval. So that is what county planning staff is recommending to the county planning commission.
Okay,
Any
thanks.
questions?
Questions? Councilwoman?
Thank you. So the township trustees are accepting of this
Yes.
recommendation?
They are. They were very enthusiastic to get the remainder of this subdivision completed. It's been just bulldozed land for quite a while.
So part of, and this is a different question for maybe the next meeting about our PERG regulations for the township, is there a requirement that there be an inventory of the trees and the natural scape and what the developer should and should not be doing with the inventory before there's a bulldozer that comes in and then we have to worry about planting some, twigs on a tree lawn? So do our regulations have a requirement for such an inventory?
So I think that's a great idea. Our regulations address the open space percentage, the 20% open space, and that it protects, the township regulations have wetlands protections and riparian setback protections. I think something else that would be very wise is to do a tree protection ordinance or suggest that to the township.
Okay.
Looking at preservation of certain trees that are important ecologically or established, if possible, or putting money into a tree bank if those trees can't be
I
preserved.
understand. So what has to happen to put that in motion, Monica?
Talking to the township and seeing if they would be amenable to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Simon is here. I don't know if you'd like to say anything or if you're good.
I'll take a second just to give a little bit of background, if that's okay. So this site's owned a multifamily townhouse. It was originally designed and developed, the first phase, back in 2003, 2004, as Megan indicated. Second phase went in, they got a couple, it was all primarily 6-unit buildings, maybe a 5 here and a 4 there, but it was an all-attached product. And then the developer walked away from it. Another developer came in, they walked away from it. It sat for a decade or more, and we took a look at it and talked with folks at the township about, a path forward here. And our vision for the site was to take a different approach, reduce the density, detach the units, right? It's still a townhome community. So it keeps being called a single family, but it's not. It's still a townhome community. It's just the townhomes are now detached and at a lower density. They have a little bit bigger yards. It was a risk. There's nothing like that in the market when we started it. But we knew that if we came in and continued the same townhomes, that as folks in the community were looking to sell their townhomes, they're now competing in the same community with a product that's just like what they have, except it's brand new. So everybody's going to buy from us. And so we didn't want to do that. So instead, by detaching, lowering the density, we were able to create a bigger separation in price point. So there was some differentiation. So that the people that needed to sell could sell. And so instead of pushing them down, we pulled everybody up. And it was a risk. It took quite a bit of time to really get a little bit of momentum going, but it finally got going, and it's been good. And so now all we're doing is continuing the concept through the rest of the community. So this area of the subdivision was originally designed, engineered, laid out, designed, approved, engineered for 59 townhomes. And so we pulled that density down and took the same approach, and that's really been it. That's why the township's been adamantly in favor, and that's why we want to continue. So I can answer any questions.
Thanks. Any questions? Mayor?
Pembroke, what's the average square footage of one of the detached townhomes?
Yeah, so they're, I think they're I'm the land guy, so, but I think that, they're all 2-car attached garage, And I think they're in the, 16 to 1,800 square foot. Folks can opt for an optional kind of sunroom on the back, and they all have a basement. So it's a really nice situation for people that want a separate individual home, but they want all the amenities and the lifestyle that comes with a cared for community, right? A carefree community. So even though they're detached, they still have the benefit of the lawn care, the snow removal, and all those amenities and benefits that the folks in the attached townhomes receive.
Mayor, go ahead.
Just a related question, sorry, Councilwoman. When you build the roads, and those are to city standards, or is this a private road?
So about 2/3 of the roads in the community were already in. So we're and they're private.
They're private. Okay.
They're private, and we're continuing the private roads. But again, you think of this more as like an apartment. It's a contained community. It'd be like going into an apartment community or some multifamily community and building public streets. It's just not what you do. It's a contained, maintained community by the association.
As long as those residents all know they're responsible.
Well, so the bulk of the residents were there when we came in. So I can't speak as to what, they know or don't know.
Well, they're
But
HOA.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's very clearly spelled out and it's in all the disclosures. It's not a surprise to anybody. Thank you.
Councilwoman?
That was my question about the HOA. Thank you, Mayor. Yep, same.
We have a lot of
Yes.
We have a lot of issues with HOAs and what's understood and what's not understood. So, but it sounds like a great product, and we'll sell them to Rocky River. No.
I'm good.
Anything further?
Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to make motion for passage on this, but I'm going to break one of my own rules since I've been down here for so many years and been through all of these things with Olmsted Township. I'm going to vote no, just so you know that in advance. Like the developer, I like the project. I resent the fact that I continually get documents that say Olmsted Township trustees, no recommendation made, and no one is here to answer our questions. God bless you, sir. I know I follow this stuff closely, but again, that's just me grandstanding.
It's okay.
And breaking my rule.
If I could, number one, this community didn't go through the trustees. It only went to BZA, so it was a little different path because of the status of the community.
My problem is that the planning commission is charged with making these decisions because it's a township. And I resent the fact that I'm not respected enough to be able to ask questions of the people other than that, you're building it. I get it. It's all good. I agree. But somebody from this township should show this commission enough respect to be here when we're voting on their stuff.
If you don't mind, when we came in with the original conversion with the last phase, Janine from the township was here at the meeting to say that the township was in complete support. I got confirmation today that I was actually on the agenda, and I got the report today.
I've been calling them since last week.
So I was just saying, I don't know if they or Janine was notified, so.
I don't know either.
Megan would know, so. Anyway.
I'm just telling you, please pass this.
Yep.
Don't penalize the township for my being an ogre. I've just been through this too many times, so. I'm sorry I'm grandstanding and making a statement, but I'm choosing to do that.
So a motion by Mayor Prusik.
Second, we'll give him cover, so.
So is there any further discussion on this? Not, all
Would you
those in
like the
favor?
roll?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
Mayor Prosick.
That motion carries.
I think just to clarify, Megan, you can confirm that the township was made aware of this meeting and the agenda.
No, thank you.
Good luck, Mr. Simon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Man,
Go ahead, Mayor Sellers.
the mayor's good point, right? If I was at home, we would not even put them on the agenda, right? So if it requires Should we be doing that here? Should we be thinking about it?
If they're not present.
Yeah. He has a point, he has a valid point.
I mean, they have been present at other times, but they're not here today.
Or a formal communication,
Yeah.
perhaps from them, if they can't attend a formal communication, that we have reviewed this, our BZA has reviewed this, whatever, and we support, we do this work on behalf of the township. That's
We'll craft something up and we'll send it over.
Because he has a point, because if there was a question, who was gonna answer?
You know, if I may, I'll make sure in the future to send out the staff report to them. They were aware of when our meeting was and the request for review, but it had been several weeks. So I'll make sure to do that in advance of this meeting next time.
Are they down an administrator right now, the township
No,
administrator?
I know Janine has been very careful with COVID. She had a long recovery. Trustee Kress, this past December, that may have something to do with it. And there is a new township trustee. So, yeah, I'll make sure to reach out.
But there was a township administrator. I don't think they've ever replaced the township administrator.
No,
And
that's not to my
the
knowledge.
former administrator was very proactive about being here.
Three of them, right?
There was 3 trustees plus the
Trustees.
administrator. The administrator
Oh, I said,
departed.
you're not here, then just move on.
Yeah.
We'll put a letter together.
All
I'll
right.
work with.
So this body has a standard, right, and so that, I don't think he's asking anything that is not expected in any other forum out here, right?
I put calls into the zoning board, to the chief building official, and to Janine. I didn't put a blanket with all the trustees.
Mayor, when you said that you had called them and they didn't, no response,
Yeah,
you got my total attention.
I understand.
Yes, that happened in our city.
Yes, and we have not had subdivision for quite some time. We had one final last meeting, and now we've got a preliminary now. So there's a lot of conversation with Public Works and their team and everyone else. So we really are trying to be very thoughtful about the process. So I think it's a good point to put something in front of them requiring communication if they can't be here in person.
Okay. Good discussion.
Thank you.
Well, I have always prided myself on these meetings taking an hour, but the Board of Health I thought would be in and out and done, and so we are very much behind schedule.
You're getting there, but,
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, it's really good discussion, and I mean, that's what we don't want this just to be a rubber stamp and fly through it, so I appreciate the discussion, but I asked Jennifer to provide a financial update for us, so we'll go through that pretty quickly, and then I'll make my executive director's report very brief, and I will send you these slides after so you have more information, if that's fair.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thank you. I'm Jennifer Carafa, and I appreciate the opportunity to give the Planning Commission an update on our financials. I'm going to first start with a brief review of last year and how we ended the year. In 2021, county planning did generate more than $250,000 in outside revenue. Those dollars were realized through contracts and agreements that our agency holds for both professional planning and zoning services. Over the last 3 years, our annual outside revenue collections have averaged about $170,000 per year. Of note is that those dollars are then deposited back into the county general fund. And I like this graphic because it shows a bunch of different information at once. I think it's interesting because it shows those collections against that general fund subsidy, which is clearly demonstrated here as the primary source of funding for our operating budget. And it also shows what our total approved operating budget is, which has hovered about $1.9 million these last couple of years. With that large general fund subsidy, the County Planning Commission provides a lot of in-kind assistance and planning support to communities, to county departments, and other entities that are in the region that we serve. We did some analysis, and in 2021, we estimated that our total in-kind was close to $380,000, and it was over 3,700 hours of staff time and involvement. And this really includes kinds of things that we're involved in, such as the Aerozone, green space planning, GIS mapping assistance, and the Healthy Urban Tree Canopy program, that we administer on behalf of both the county executive and the Department of Sustainability. So we have our hands in a lot of things, and with that general fund subsidy, perform a lot of services. In 2021, again, our total operating budget was 1.9 million, and of that, staff salaries and benefits comprise that largest percentage. It's about 93% of our total operating budget. The remainder is really the supplies, some operational contracts that we hold, and a few other operating expenses. And so these are the dollars that were authorized by county council for us to conduct operations. And this breakdown has been pretty consistent over the last few years, with personnel being our largest expense. This year. So 2022 is year one of a new biennial budget. Our budget includes a new round 3 of the Healthy Urban Tree Grant Canopy program, where we hold and then disperse reimbursement grants totaling $950,000. Our 2022 budget provides for salary and benefit appropriation for staff that we added mid to late last year, as well as some funds to add some staff capacity. As in previous years, we will continue to supplement our operating budget with some outside revenue. This table shows several things. It shows our 2022 approved current budget as compared to what we spent last year, where again, we were funded roughly the same in terms of that total personnel and total expenditures. Here I think you can see that we ended 2021 under budget at $2.4 million total. We had some savings in our total personnel costs, as well as overall less expenditures, including that grant award disbursements for the Healthy Urban Tree Grants. Our current 2022 budget includes salaries and benefits to support about 20 full-time employees, and as well the same dollar amount, which is roughly $40,000 for operations, same as last year. As I mentioned, we hold a new round of funding for the urban tree grants. And what we're also seeing here at the 1.3 million is additional dollars from contracts for last year's urban grants, where we're paying last year's reimbursements out of this year's budget. So in total, our current budget totals over $3.2 million, although our operating budget is about the 1.9 when you remove those grant funds. Through first quarter, we've spent about 1/4 of our salaries and benefits. Combined, it's about 22%. We've spent about 13% for all of our non-personnel expenses. And right now, we're at about a combined total expense of 18% through first quarter. I say we're on track. We're doing great. To date, we have also collected just over $28,000 in deposits, and we're ramping up for first quarter invoicing. This quarter really just ended. I give staff 2 weeks to compile any out-of-pocket plus finalizing our project expenses. So we'll be finalizing those charges and sending out new invoices and statements to the clients we serve. We do expect to end the year on par with the average of bringing in another $170,000 or more in outside revenue collections like previous years. And I think we'll plan to spend down our entire approved appropriation. We are on track so far to do so. That is my report. Are there any questions?
Any questions, Mayor Bobst?
You mentioned that there are expenses paid in this year that were incurred last year. Are you able to do that with encumbrances that roll into the next? I don't know how you're, okay.
No, it's a good question. Yeah, it's fair. That is the intent, that's correct. Because a lot of the urban tree grants were granted 18 months, a couple of different planting cycles. And so those dollars are encumbered under a multi-year contract.
other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
No action on that item, just thought it would be good to give you an update as we start into the new year. So I'll make this really brief. I know we're way behind schedule. As Jennifer mentioned, the 20 positions, we were previously down a couple employees just based on trying to make the numbers work in terms of budget and getting people hired. We had 2 hires last year, Laura Ortiz-Mendez, say it wrong. Anyway. And
Ortiz.
yes, and Megan Cheney, and so they did not start until I think September, we brought them on, so we had that time. Unfortunately, we lost Michael Mears last month. He was picked up by MKSK, who is opening a Cleveland office, so very sad to see him go. So with us already lagging behind in terms of staff, we now have that big hole to fill. So as many of you know, or may not know, but the planning world has never seen as much competition right now for talent. I mean, Mayor Bopes knows, we've talked about it. She's looking for a director. I hope you find your person. I asked her not to steal my people, but I know it could happen. But I know my own team is getting calls from other places, and the competition is real. So we have posted the senior planning position as well as a planner position, and so we're flexible with that. We've gotten better responses, I think, at this time for the planning level versus the senior planner, which requires an AICP. So we may end up being flexible and doing 2 planners instead of 1 senior and 1 planner. So more to come on that, but it's really everybody's working really, really hard. I've approved exchange time earning for a lot of folks that are trying to get some things done and really pushing to meet deadlines. So that is where we are with that. So we are trying to fill those positions, but hopeful. Inaugural annual report, some quick project updates. I probably won't get through all of these just given our time. And then this relates directly to the first point, but the planning grants. Just wanted to give an update on that. So annual report, I hope you all saw it. It was sent out in an email to you. We received a lot of great feedback, and so I thank you for those who reached out personally with kudos, and I just want to say thank you to my entire team. Susan Infield led the charge with Kevin learning story mappings and Dan, and Rachel doing all the graphics in there. It was all done in-house, and so we're really proud of that they could create this document that's not something that sits on a shelf. We can easily share a link with people and do that, and I mean, I can't tell you how many people were involved in that and bringing all the pieces together, so really pleased with that. This department has never had an annual report before, so it was our first attempt at that. So I think we've set the foundation for future reports. So if you haven't taken a look at it, please do. It's on our website as well. North Royalton redistricting, we received a request. Dan had previously done this work in 2018. This did not come before you as a resolution because the contract value is only $2,500. It is pretty quick turnaround on this. It is work that Dan previously did, and I think we're looking for completion, by the end of May or June, I think, on that one. So that's a nice little revenue for us on something that we did previously. North Olmsted, they've got a new mayor, a new economic development director. We've had several conversations with them. One immediate need that they have is a zoning map update. They do not have an electronic version of their zoning map, and they're struggling with that, looking at development that is coming and looking at North Olmsted. So they've requested a proposal from us. Jim is working on that. And there's some potential for additional work because they've got a lot of things that they're looking to, I know there was an article the other day about their business district, so there's things that they're looking to do. Maybe some future work. Healthy Urban Tree Canopy Awards, those were announced late last week, and we have 27 projects that were awarded funding, representing over 3,400 trees that will be planted. So that is really great. We're still seeing, as Jennifer mentioned, reimbursement requests from the last cycle, so working on closing that out and setting up all the contracts in Infor and all the new programs that we have at the county. So thank you to Allison, who leads that effort, and Susan and Annette and Jennifer too for all the support that they provide. So we did a really good partnership with the Cleveland Tree Coalition that Western Reserve Land Conservancy is working on. So actually, one of these 27 is being fully funded by the Cleveland Tree Coalition. So in terms of our contracting purposes, we'll have 26 contracts. But really great program. Again, initiative of the county executive. So happy to support that effort. Aerozone current conditions report, Mayor Bopes knows about this, Mayor Orcutt, you may know about this. So this is another one that did not come through the board. This is something that we have agreed to do for the Aerozone Alliance as in-kind services. And it really, I know we talk about the planning grants and that, we didn't do them last year, but if you hear through a lot of the different projects we're doing, we're touching a lot of communities. And so this is another example of that where everyone who's proximate to Cleveland Hopkins Airport is part of this study. Dan has been doing mapping for years for the Aerozone Alliance, and so we really are formalizing this as a first step towards the master plan for them. That came out of their strategic plan, that a master plan was recommended, and we really worked with the Aerozone Alliance to say we really need to do current conditions first to find out what we have, where is it, and Patrick is leading this effort for us. And so far, here are the interviews with communities that we've had. There's interviews planned with with developers and stakeholders, and they've created this Google map as they're having conversations with the different communities, highlighting areas where they have issues or concerns or needs. So this is going to be great information to go back to Rashu and the Aerozone Alliance board, and so really excited about it. Patrick has had great conversations. He said everyone's been very supportive in talking through things with them. So I'm excited to give some feedback back to Rashu and the board when we next meet. So that is underway. And again, we're really trying to do this work so that we can help them determine what a master plan might look like and then bid on that work and hopefully be successful in winning the master plan work with revenues attached to it. Lakefront Public Access, I know you hopefully have seen a lot of news and media about the Lakefront Public Access Plan. The final plan's complete. It's published on our website. Public Works and the county Enterprise GIS, they've created an interactive story map of lakefront projects, so that is also up and live. We've had several outreaches from media, held one conversation with someone from Michigan State that we thought was a conversation about climate migration, and it really is more of it's going to be published this summer. So there's a lot of excitement around the lakefront, and Public Works will be administering the contracts going forward for preliminary design and engineering. The planning piece is now being complete, but we'll be potentially working with them on public engagement parts of the next phase. Continuing to work on funding requests and applications. Jim, I know you are very busy. Your team is very busy on different applications looking for funding, and we're very close to a couple of big announcements, and so.
Fema Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, that's one. It's funny, we applied for $900,000 for the Gold Coast and then $2.4 million for the county shoreline, and they said, go big or go home. So I'm answering a lot of questions from them, which is really great news, because if I heard nothing, I'd be worried. So, they keep telling me 2 more weeks. We're 2 more weeks out. But we've got one more bit of information to send to them, and we're hoping to hear from them in about 2 weeks, we'll say, right?
And EDA funding, I know we talked about that at a previous meeting, that we put in an application jointly with the Rock and Hall of Fame. Public Works is the applicant, and so we continually reach out to the EDA looking for updates, and nothing yet, but that was a very in demand. It was travel and tourism ARPA dollars, and so we're hoping sometime this summer we'll hear something on that. We're also coordinating with Noack on the Lakefront Connector project. So if you remember, that was the overarching Noack region. They were doing Lake Lorraine and Cuyahoga, and Public Works said we're going to help with getting Cuyahoga piece done, and so we are done with that piece now, and so we're coordinating with Noack to see what does that mean for Cuyahoga County in terms of north-south connectors. That also, we looked at the east-west and along the lakefront, and how can we make sure that we're coordinating with that. So, Steve Litt, we did a nice interview with him, and then not unfortunately, but there was an article that had all the lakefront projects, so we were trying to get very specific to our project, but there's a lot going on, which is all great, and I had a really nice conversation, as I know Mike Dever did as well, with Director Wong and her team, and just really working on collaborating, and I think it's going to be a new day, in Cleveland and Cuyahoga County on partnerships, so very exciting. So I'm going as fast as I can. So that was just an overview on some of the lakefront. The full report is tremendous. It's great. I know Jim's got a hard copy there. It's on the website. So then we back to planning grants. You know, when we had our meeting in February, I was really feeling positive that we were gonna get through this, and, you know, I think we can do it. We're gonna do maybe fewer and narrow scope, and given, you know, Michael's departure and us still lagging in, planning, resources, we're still evaluating whether or not we do that. But again, initiatives that we're working on countywide with the transit-oriented development zoning, work in arrow zoning, our arrow zone, work with single-family zoning, we're working with dozens of communities. Even if I think of the urban tree canopy, I mean, that's also helping communities. So I know we're not doing individual contracts at the moment. We may still look later this year, but I originally had hoped maybe this summer we would make an announcement and get someone under contract later this year, but I think we still have to be diligent about the work we need to finish before we jump into new contracts. Full-scale master plans and the zoning code updates, as Mayor Bopes knows very well, are not feasible at this point, given, you know, what we've got capacity-wise on our plate. So I'm going to continue to reevaluate that. But we are getting a lot of calls. So, I mean, our reputation is good. South Euclid called and wanted to know about, you know, a zoning update, and we said not this year, like maybe next year, and we can wait. We can do that. So, I mean, there's been a lot of great conversations about you know, what our capacity is now, but, you know, interest in the work and trying to do what we can on some of these smaller projects to at least keep the momentum going. So that's it for me.
Take a breath.
Okay.
So I really appreciate it, Mary, all of that information, and just in regards to the lakefront work, I couldn't ask for a better partner in the county planning group, and they've done an outstanding job. Mary, Jim has been on this day in and day out for the last two and a half years. So it's been really great. So I just want to say thank you. And we're going to continue this partnership, but now hopefully we'll be moving forward into some implementation of these projects. So hopefully we're able to get some of the money falling from Washington. We'll see what happens. So anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay.
I have a comment, just on the annual report. I wanted to say it looked great and it was informative, and just my compliments to Susan and Phil and the team for putting together a good, you know, first report.
Thank you.
It doesn't seem like a first report seeing the quality of it.
Thank you. Yeah, I asked Susan to be the quarterback, and then we realized we had 4 strings of quarterbacks because we were all involved. So she was good at yeah, keeping it on target, and we wanted to get out by the end of March, and we did that. So
That was Mayor Brennan for the audience.
yes, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay, old business? Nothing? New business? Nothing? Okay, I think that's it. Does anyone have any other comments? No? Take a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. So just, our next meeting is tentatively May 12th. If we don't have any pressing issues, we will not hold that meeting. We will go to our June meeting. Okay. Oh yeah, I don't think we'll have anything